In this episode, we will focus on international recruitment. Welcome to HIRECONOMICS. My name is Jose, and in this episode, we will focus and we will describe 5 aspects of international recruitment. I recently came back from Malta, where I had a 2-day training, sourcing training, purely hardcore sourcing for one company where which I find out that Malta is quite interesting market where there are a lot of nationalities, and actually companies on Malta are looking for different kind of people, for example from Sweden, because there is a huge minority of Swedish people on Malta, and they are looking for those people to work on Malta. That's not only a question of Malta, of course. For example, throughout Europe, the mixture of nationalities, where, for example, you want to hire IT guys from, let's say, Eastern Europe to Western Europe or to Central Europe, and so on. It's quite obvious. There are a lot of shared service centers here, for example, in the Czech Republic, in Romania, and so on. So, like the potential and requirements to look for people with some language skills, with let's say from foreign countries, it's quite demanding. So I would say the first aspect, we already mentioned that, language, foreign language, that might be the first aspect for sourcing. How you can source for languages with, let's say we can take LinkedIn as the first source, which we know it's still important source for us. In this case, I can let's say dive in right into people search interface in the non-paid version of LinkedIn, as you can see. And even if you click on all filters, you can see and you can notice that there is a profile language filter, but this profile language filter, it's not the knowledge of the language, it's your language preference or user's language preference. So of course, if you click on Spanish, you will probably get Spanish speaking people, but definitely the list will not be exhaustive. There will be a lot, let's say many more people who can speak Spanish with a good Spanish, but using this filter, you will not have them included on the list. You need to do something else. In the non-paid version, I rather recommend to use simply keywords and go by keywords. So if I'm looking for, I don't know, Swedish speaking people on Malta, I would of course put here Malta. Firstly, I would like to locate people who can speak Swedish, and they are located on Malta. That's why I'm using, you can see right behind me, the locations Malta. But into the keyword part on the top, I would put something like Swedish or Svenska. Svenska is the Swedish term for Swedish. That's the local term for Swedish. And I would find all users mentioning the word Swedish or Svenska somewhere on their profile. Of course, including the part languages, but you need to go one by one, because a lot of people will have elementary level of Swedish, for example. A lot of people will mention Swedish just, for example, in a summary section, because they will be describing something like, I work for a Swedish company, and already you have such a person included in your list, even if it's a false positive for you, because this person doesn't necessarily need to speak a good Swedish. So let's say out of 1,000 profiles, you will find only maybe 50 to 100 of the profiles will actually have a good level of this language. So that's one aspect, but maybe you might be looking for people from Sweden to Malta. So of course, you would maybe do something like this. You would put here Sweden, but in this case, I wouldn't do such a search like you can see right here, because you are doubling one requirement, which is language. I can assume that people living in Sweden have already a good level of Swedish. So I would divide it into 2 searches. One search on Malta, where I actually need to use the Swedish or Svenska on the top. But the second search will be Sweden, but without any of those keywords, because I would be doubling the requirement. So let's say I'm looking for assistant. So I would put here assistant, for for example, assistant to CEO or whatever. So I would get assistant in Sweden, and I can assume that 95% of those people which I find in the search results will actually have a good level of Swedish. If I put here the Swedish or Svenska, the downside of this is that you will actually lose some people in the process, because some people in Sweden, they will not state that they are native in a Swedish language. That's why they will not have this word Swedish or Svenska somewhere on their profile. That's why you will lose those people if you require on LinkedIn to have or to have the appearance of this word on their profile. So kind of think logically what you actually put here. These fields, what you can see right here, right behind me, those are just fields which you enter into the LinkedIn database. But the logic on top of that must be crafted, I would say, by you. So I'm looking for people in Sweden. I can assume all of those people will actually have a good level of Swedish. In the process, you will find out that 5% of people who cannot speak Swedish, you will exclude them, but it's better scenario than lose some people right in this stage of search. So that's one aspect. Of course, you can search by languages on Facebook as well. You can use, for example, intelligent search plugin by Shane McCusker, where it's quite easy, where you can choose speaks. You can put here Swedish. You can put here lives, for example, on Malta, as we mentioned, the first search, and we can search Facebook and using so-called graph search. So we found one guy who's obviously from Malta, and he states that speaks Swedish language on his profile. As well as I can search for, of course, for, it doesn't matter, for example, German-speaking people. But I'm looking for them in, let's say, Czech Republic. So I will put here Czech, search, and it will do the similar thing. So you can see from Czech Republic, all the people are from the various cities out of Czech Republic, and all those people speak German. Of course, the question is, what's the level of the German? But this is the first stage of the process. So this is one aspect. That's the language aspect. If you have LinkedIn Recruiter at your disposal, of course you can use spoken languages filter right here, where, as you can see, we can put here even Swedish like this. The problem is that we are not able to put there Svenska. So even if you are able to put there Swedish, or for example with English, I'm able to put there English, I'm able to put there German, but I'm not able to put there Deutsch, which is a local term, a German term for German, actually. So I would use this filter only just for the preliminary search, for the first search, where you actually want to search for German-speaking people with a good level of knowledge. That's the advantage that you have there, that filter, which will differentiate people having a good level of German from those people not having a good level of German. That's one aspect. But in the second stage of the search, I would definitely came back to the keyword search, where I would put what we saw with Swedish. I would put here German or Deutsch, or now it depends in which country you are actually looking for those German-speaking people. If I'm looking for German-speaking people in the Czech Republic, I need to use a local Czech term for German. So I would actually need to put here Němčina or Německy as well. It probably doesn't tell you anything right there, but if you put these words into Google Translate, you would get German or Deutsch, because there will be Czech people having their profiles in the Czech language, and they will state in the language section, I can speak Němčina, the local term for German, and for example, professional working proficiency, so good level of German. That's the case. So to do that work properly, as you can see, just searching people by language, it's some process, and you need to be kind of logical in this way what you do. Another, I would say, aspect might be in, especially when you are looking for people in Eurozone, in European Union, it might be that imagine I'm looking for some people and it doesn't matter where they are from, but they must be from European Union because there are no work permits within this area. So you need to put here all the countries of European Union, Germany, Czech Republic, France, and so on. And of course, if you do some searches every day, you would need to state those all of those countries every search. But what I recommend to you is do that once, do this search like here, and you wouldn't have anything here, and hit search like that. Save this URL somewhere, and the next day you are back to work and you want to start searching from EU countries. You will just open this link, you will create, or you will click on all filters. So on the top, I'm clicking on all filters, and you can see those countries are already being stated there automatically. I can start from here, so I can put here what I'm actually looking for, project manager, and so on and so on. But those countries are there already predefined. You cannot replicate the same process with LinkedIn Recruiter because this URL right here is kind of created dynamically, so it doesn't work in the same way. But what you can use here in the paid version or in LinkedIn Recruiter is this little icon right here. You can see on the top this icon. If you click on this icon, you will save this search. So once the next day you are doing the same search, you are looking for people from EU, from Eurozone, you can click on saved, and you can choose the particular saved search. I cannot show you that right now because we have there some clients saved searches with the names of the companies, but this is what you can use in LinkedIn Recruiter. So that's another aspect. Next aspect is that you need to, of course, use the local names and terms for the position. So once I'm looking for assistant for Malta, from, as we said, for example, from Malta, or from Sweden for Malta, we need to cover the local term for assistant. So I actually need to open Google Translate and put here the word assistant, and it detecting the English, that's correct, and I need to put here Svenska, or actually this is in English, so I put here Swedish, and you can see the Swedish term for assistant is assistent. Instead of A, there's E. So of course you need to adjust this. You can see I did it already once on Malta, so I need to put here assistant or assistant, and it will expand your search results and to cover and include also people who created their profile in the local language, in this case in Swedish. That's really much important. If I'm in Romania and I'm looking for product managers, I would use, for example, even the Romanian word manager der produs, which is a product manager in Romanian. So you need to take this include that into your searches to actually be exhaustive and to actually find all relevant people. Another almost the last aspect is actually open to relocate filter. So you can see here, if you have LinkedIn Recruiter, even LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, the cheapest version for $90 or 90 euros per month, you can notice here that there is a current only, current or open to relocate, and open to relocate only. So I can actually search also for people. I can put here current or open to relocate. I can put here Malta as a location, and I would find even people from Germany who would like to relocate to Malta. So that's I would say pretty powerful. That's brand new function, but more and more people are used to using that. So if you click on jobs as a candidate, you click on career interests, you can click here add locations, and you can add their locations which the person might be interested in. So you can find all the people from around the world who would like to relocate to that one particular location. So So bear this in mind as well. It can actually you can expand your long list and find more candidates as well. And the very last thing is, imagine I'm looking for German people, but I'm looking for German people who are not located in Germany at the moment. So imagine I'm a German, I'm not, but imagine I was a German and I have a 1-year contract in France. So I'm going to France and I will most probably switch my LinkedIn account from Germany to France, the location of my LinkedIn account from Germany to France. So I'm basically invisible for all of people who are looking with a location here, Germany, or with a zip code. One, of course, if you are used to using zip code with some area, Berlin or Stuttgart, Frankfurt, and so on, you can put there this, but still you need to put here Germany. So, but I'm a German in France, so I'm invisible for you with this search. So sometimes you might be looking for people, for Germans in France, or for Germans in Spain, for Germans in Italy, and so on. In this case, I would use, we can show that with non-paid LinkedIn account, and the principle is the same in the paid version actually. So what you can do is that I would choose here France, and of course this will give me simply French people, or all people who are located actually in France. And I know that somewhere amongst those 15 million people I have here, there will be those Germans who moved for 2 months, 1 year, 2 years to France, for example, for work. But it doesn't mean that they are not candidates back for the German market. So what I would do is that I would put into keywords basically anything related to German people. So I would put there even names of the main German cities, Berlin, as we mentioned, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, and so on. I would definitely put there names of the main universities, or actually I would create a list of all German universities and I would put it there. Of course, you can put it to schools, or you can put it to schools here, but actually almost it doesn't matter if you have the school here or here. It simply do a keyword search on people's profiles. So you can just use this keyword search on the top right there, and you can stay there all universities. So if somebody studied university in Berlin and now he's located in France, it most likely it's a German person who moved to France for some reason. Sometimes some Erasmus exchange studies, it might be a French person who moved for Erasmus 1 semester program to Berlin, but most likely it will be vice versa. It will be a German person who is located in France at the moment. So this is a way how to find, in this case, Germans somewhere abroad. It's applicable to any other country around the world. So this was my 5 aspects of international recruitment. Follow HIRECONOMICS for more information about this, or for further episodes, and see you later.